there! Welcome to or welcome back to Simple Abundance and Tarot. My name's Elizabeth, and you'll find me across the internet as Empowered Mystical Harmony. That's the name of my small business. This is episode 5 of the Simple Abundance and Tarot series, which is just wild. So what this has been my daily reading of the daily passage from Simple Abundance. And so I read the passage, I reflect on the passage, and then I pull a tarot card and reflect on the tarot card in the context of the daily passage. And this has been a really great practice for me. I meant to start with January 1, and I did not. I started in mid-January. And I was just reading it and drawing the card and writing about it, posting about it on Instagram a little bit. And then 5 days ago, I decided that I wanted to stretch myself a little bit and step outside of my comfort zone and start recording YouTube videos of the daily reading and the daily tarot pull. So this is day number 5 of doing that. I feel like my voice is so scratchy and I'm constantly stopping to take a sip of water. I hope that's not too annoying. But today is Tuesday, January 28th. So I will read January 28th. So January 28th's passage is called the Illustrated Discovery Journal, and the Illustrated Discovery Journal she mentioned the other day as part of her basic tools for her daily ritual for how she reconnects with herself and what she does to connect with her authentic self. And so this passage starts with a quote from Jessamine West, and it says, "Knowledge of what you love somehow comes to you. You don't have to read, nor analyze, nor study. If you love a thing enough, knowledge of it seeps into you, with particulars more real than any chart can furnish." And then the author goes on to say, "The key to loving how you live is in knowing what it is you truly love." Another quote, "To know what you prefer instead of humbly saying amen to what the world tells you you ought to prefer is to keep your soul alive." And that's a Robert Louis Stevenson quote. The author says, "Keeping our soul alive and nurturing our creativity is what interests us today." As in today's passage, I believe. One of the most pleasurable ways to start finding out your personal preferences is by creating an illustrated discovery journal. This is your explorer's log as you begin to make your way into the into the darkest terra incognita, your authentic inner world. We find our imaginations and get in touch with our authenticity by gathering together beautiful images that speak to our souls. You didn't know that the sun-drenched colors of Santa Fe called to you? Then why do they keep popping up in your pictures? You thought American country was your style, but rose-covered chintz is what you're collecting on paper? Isn't that interesting? Here is an occasion when one picture speaks 1,000 words. Meditating on one visual image a day can jumpstart your creativity and lead to revealing insights. Today, get a blank, black-bound artist sketchbook at an art supply store, a pair of sharp scissors, rubber cement, and your favorite magazines. Put them all in a basket and keep it by your bed. At night, before you go to bed, when you're in a drowsy, relaxed, and receptive state, flip through the magazines. When you see an image you love, cut it out and paste it in your book. Don't try to arrange the pictures in any specific sort of way. Let the collages you're creating simply evolve. Soon, they will give you directions about where your heart wants you to go. I have also added quotes, sketches, greeting cards, and art postcards to my discovery journal, crafting with paper what the poet W.H. Auden calls a map of my planet. So I like this passage, this is a really cool idea. I can't say that I've ever, apart from like actual assignments, um, where the assignment was to make a collage, I've never made one just for fun. Um, but I have thought about it because it does seem like a really cool practice. And I do enjoy like making vision boards and that kind of stuff digitally, finding images on Pinterest and in Canva and making a vision board in Canva. Um, and I mean, I feel like when we're like scrolling on Pinterest and saving things, that in a way we are kind of doing this. When we create a Pinterest board, we're sort of creating this imagery journal for ourselves. And so if we just did that with a little more intention and sort of, went back and kind of explored the images that we were pinning and just gave them a little bit more thought. Because sometimes I do think we're very intentional and we craft a board with a certain aesthetic. But then sometimes we're just scrolling and saving. And so then, do we ever go back and reflect on like the random things that we saved that weren't part of a specific themed board? Um, One of the quotes I really liked was, "We feed our imaginations and get in touch with our authenticity by gathering together beautiful images that speak to our souls." That feels so Aquarius to me, which we're in Aquarius season currently, and tomorrow, January 29th, is actually the new moon in Aquarius. And this shirt feels very Aquarius to me as well. So any Aquarians out there, please let me know if this shirt resonates with you, if you would wear this shirt. I'm not an Aquarius. I am a sun and moon in Leo and a Virgo rising. Anyway, yeah, so this quote, in the context of like, going into the full moon, new moon in Aquarius, in the new moon portal. The new moon's tomorrow, but you feel the energy a little bit before and after. Um, just thinking about this new moon in Aquarius and just being in Aquarius season, and that quote just feels so Aquarius to me. Just imagination, authenticity, images, like those are just words that I associate with Aquarius. Just very innovative and unique and expressive. Um, so that's just what's popping into my head. Yeah, okay. And so that's that part. Um, and today I am actually going to draw a card from the Moon and Stars Tarot. And then just for reference, this is what the star looks like from that deck. And the star is associated with Aquarius. So I had that one pulled out to talk a little bit about it, just because I wore this shirt, and then after I read the passage, it was like, oh, yeah, that really resonates, I think. And so, as always, I'm curious to hear your thoughts, and I'm going to go ahead and start shuffling these cards while I'm talking. So I usually use a different deck, just because there's something about the color palette and aesthetic of that deck that just like really does it for me, in relation to the the, the book. But I like to use this deck around the full moon and the new moon. Um, so this is what the backs look like. And this card is Temperance. And the word on the card is healing. So I do want to read from the guidebook for this card before I talk about what's come up for me with it. Just because the creator, especially for the Major Arcana cards, has put a lot of insight and guidance in to the deck. So I want to share that. So for Temperance, the key words are harmony, calmness, tranquility, peace, guidance, stability. She describes the card. A woman has filled up her 2 supernova goblets from the pool of magical moon energy which lies at her feet. She takes from the pool whenever necessary, healing mind, body, and soul. She pours the moon energy between the 2 goblets, symbolizing the flow of constant change within her inner emotions, yet bringing logical balance, structure, and stability into her mind's eye as she does so. Her halo signifies harmony. The constellation of Sagittarius in the sky above her is linked to movement. So, meaning healing, which is the single word. All of the cards have one word on them. So the guidance is allow universal energy to flow freely through you without resistance and seek emotional balance and moderation as stresses from work, relationships, or home life may be overwhelming. You need to let go of the past that is simply holding you back. On the other side is peace. Become one with yourself. Harmony is closer than you think, as it is time to bring your life into order and balance. And so the star message she offers is support is always available. Take this opportunity to listen to your intuition and the energy around you, particularly when you're under pressure. And then the moon magic affirmation is I am ready to embrace the magic of the moon. So considering that the new moon is tomorrow and the moon affirmation was to embrace the magic of the moon, I like that. New moons are a time of setting intentions and planting seeds, and I always think of that as you plant seeds in the darkness, and then they grow and come to light, and so that's the new moon is that time of darkness where we plant seeds, set intentions. So, what intentions are we setting with this new moon? Um, so, the imagery of this card is actually really similar to the imagery of the Rider-Waite-Smith card. Um, it's the angel pouring between 2 goblets. He has 1 foot on dry land and 1 foot in the water. I know that I've heard that represents like the having 1 foot in the mundane and 1 foot in the mystical, or 1 foot in the practical and 1 foot in the magical, and so that to me like speaks to like listening to our intuition, being in touch with our intuition, and then actually following our intuition and taking action in the physical world. And so I think that's really interesting, considering that this card, Temperance, is associated with Sagittarius, who's a fire sign, and that kind of take action energy. And this new moon is, and we're in Aquarius season, which is an air sign, and that sort of cerebral energy. So that feels, to bring the two together in following your intuition and intellect, and reconnecting with those, and then taking action out in the physical world. Um, and so I used to cook professionally, and I still enjoy cooking. So when I think of temperance, I always think of tempering, in cooking, which is, you're combining ingredients that are at completely different temperatures, and you're slowly incorporating them so that they can come together and mix smoothly, instead of the temperature of the other affecting the other, and like it curdles or seizes or something. um so just thinking about that, sort of slowly combining two different things in order to bring them together smoothly and bring them together in a balanced, harmonious way. I always think about that. And then um, and then back to the angel's feet, one's in the water and one's on dry land. That's also maybe speaks to that, two different things that we're balancing. um, the idea of temperance is moderation, right? The temperance movement was, you know no alcohol. um, and so, just thinking about alcohol, and moderation, and self-restraint. And I think when you think of self-restraint, I think that phrase kind of comes off as a little bit harsh. Like self-discipline, I feel like a lot of people have complicated relationships with those words, but I think you can, if you apply those concepts compassionately, that they're really healthy, and that the that structure, there's actually a lot of freedom in structure. And when there are things in place that work for you, that you don't have to think about, that frees up so much energy for, to think about the things you want to think about, um, versus thinking about the things you have to think about, if that makes sense. And so just thinking about that in the context of today's passage, about the exploration journal, and so, the imagery journal, that to me feels very sort of, what okay, I was talking about self discipline and self restraint and temperance, and like being aware and in control of your, not just your actions, but your thoughts and your feelings. And so I think temperance and moderation and self-restraint and self-discipline, that also, it compassionately can be applied to, um, monitoring our thoughts and feelings, as well as our actions, and our self-talk. How are we talking to ourselves? How are we, connecting with ourselves? How are we holding space for ourselves? And so thinking about that in terms of today's passage with the exploration journal, is that holding space for yourself, for your intuition to come through and speak to you, because like the images, we're not carefully curating a collage. We're just taking an image that speaks to us in that moment, um, and putting that in for the day. And so, when you go back and look at the images you've been collecting, you you know you see patterns or interesting things that you like weren't conscious of, but then you go back and you look at what you've intuitively created, and then you're able to connect with that side of yourself and become consciously aware of things that you hadn't been aware of. And so, just thinking about that and how important that is to be connected with your intuition and your authentic self. Um, so yeah, I feel like that's a really, really nice card to get today, with the theme of the day's passage, and then also thinking about going into the new moon in Aquarius. And so, okay, so to try and wrap this up, um, the day's passage, we talked about, it was about this creative self-care activity that we can do to reconnect with our authentic selves, reconnect with our intuition, honor those parts of ourselves. And then so to get the Temperance card with that reading, or to get this reading with that passage, to me, that speaks to sort of this bringing together our intuition with the physical world. Um, and so, you know, I think that's one way to look at it. And then, the other way would be to consider how we're honoring ourselves, in that, are we connected to our authentic selves? Are we listening to our intuition? And then how are we moving through the world? Are we honoring those inner parts of ourselves in the outer world? Um, are we able to find meaningful balance between different thoughts and expectations, um, and different roles that we are responsible for? Um, and I mean, we're still very much in the um, self-care section of the book, I believe. And so a lot of the messages that I feel like the cards are confirming or inviting us to consider, um, have to do with supporting those themes of supporting ourselves. Um, so, getting the Temperance card and thinking of temperance in, that compassionate self-discipline, in that we're regulating ourselves, we're regulating our nervous systems, we're um, you know aware of our thoughts and actions and emotions. And so we're doing these self-care activities, um, because they're just as important as any other thing that we have to do. So we're doing these self-care activities to reconnect with our authentic selves, to honor our authentic selves, and through doing these self-care activities to connect with ourselves. And I really lost my train of thought. So we're we're doing these self-care activities because they are just as important and should be just as non-negotiable as all of our other responsibilities. Um, so once we have these self-care practices, and we're reconnected with our authentic selves, and we're reconnected with our intuition, then that helps us be able to have more balanced lives. That creates a life where we are, you know, honoring ourselves as well as others in our lives. Um, and, finding that balance between caring for ourselves and caring for others. And which is also interesting to consider in the context of Aquarius season, because Aquarius is very much the individual for the collective. And what I mean by that is, like, Aquarius and individuality is more about being your authentic self and being your unique individual self, and not individual in like an isolationist kind of way, and an individual in like a unique, authentic way. And how, when we embrace our authentic selves and come together in community, we can create change and positive impact for the collective when we are in touch with our authentic selves, and we bring our authentic selves to the table in community. And so, yeah, I feel like that's the day's message. It's just another example of an artistic, creative self-care activity that maybe you haven't thought of before, and that maybe really resonates with you, and that would actually be really beneficial for you to try. Or if it's, already similar to kind of like we talked about, like the Pinterest boards and that sort of thing, just maybe an activity that you already do, just just be a little bit more intentional about it when you do it, and see like what comes up for you from that. And then how, when we're reconnected with our authentic selves and our intuition, that that helps us create lives that are more balanced and more enjoyable, because we're in touch with ourselves, and we know how to honor ourselves as well as honor others in our lives, and the other roles that we're responsible for. And then just thinking further on, Aquarius themes of being an authentic individual for the benefit of the collective. And and then just thinking about, so tomorrow is the new moon, and so our maybe we want to set some intentions around, um, you know, set some intentions around reconnecting with our authentic selves, with our creative side, innovative side, um, and how, you know, those that will help create harmony and balance in our lives. And I think when the individuals that make up a group are individually doing better, it you can't help but affect the rest of the group positively, right? And so we talk about, if we raise our own vibrations and we are high vibe, if enough of us are, that helps raise the vibe of the collective. And so I think that that's a beautiful invitation for an intention to set for this new moon in Aquarius, to reconnect with and honor our authentic selves, and, you know for ourselves, we are creating, more peace and balance in our own lives. And then the knock-on effect is we're able to then improve the lives of those around us, and of the collective, if we are connected to our authentic selves, and we are, have more balance and intention in our lives. So, yeah, I think I think that's what has come up for me today, and hopefully that makes sense. I feel very rambly today, and I apologize. Um, but yeah, so, in the comments, I would love to hear your thoughts on today's passage and on today's card, and did what come up for me resonate with you? or, you know, if not, what did come up for you? What message did you get from um, the Temperance card in relation to the day's passage? I'm so curious to know. I know that my perspective and interpretation isn't the only one, and so, you know, I want to share mine because I think it's largely positive, um, and inspirational and supportive. But you know, if something else came up for you, I would love to know how you interpret that card in the context of the passage, and in the context of what's going on right now, with the new moon in Aquarius. So yeah, okay. Please comment below if you know, you want to have a conversation about the card and the day's passage, and you know, comment, like, subscribe, right? That's the snappy phrase. But seriously, if you enjoy this content and you want to continue to engage in these conversations and build community around these conversations, it would be awesome if you could subscribe, because I do plan to do these every day, um, and then, you know, like it so that the algorithm gets a positive impression of it and helps share it with more people. You can share it with anybody you think would be interested. I'm also on Instagram. I do uh, mini posts now, just kind of trying to just very succinctly recap everything that I go on about at length in these videos. Um, so yeah, check out my Instagram. Yes. So I will go ahead and sign off now. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you tomorrow.